There are a couple of you here inside of this group that this video right here that you're watching here is going to change your life, because it's going to double or even triple your sales. And I mean that. That might sound kind of weird, like how could your sales double or triple almost overnight? Well, I get people all the time, they'll read my book and then they'll come and ask me, hey, what is it that I'm not seeing? What is it that you can do with me? Can you do with me what you did with Joe, or what you did with Taylor, or what you did with Pete? Can you have my sales just have this big pop-up in production? Like, what could you teach me that would have me do that? And I said, I don't teach you anything. What's missing is not more information. You know how it's all mindset. You know, we know logically that, like, okay, our minds are so powerful, they have so much potential, it's so unlimited and all that stuff. But really, that's totally useless if your perspective that you're seeing the world through doesn't change. Okay, so it's like we all are wearing these glasses that have these yellow lenses on it, and so everything that we see has this tinge of yellow on it, and we think that whiteboard, for example, is yellow. It's not yellow, it's just yellow for you given the way that you're seeing it, given the lens, the filter that is shaping and constraining the way that you see it. But everyone's wearing these glasses, but we forget. We don't know that we're wearing the glasses. So when we create a transformation for somebody, it's like the equivalent of taking off those yellow glasses and putting on some red ones, and boom, the whole world shows up differently. It's like it doesn't even look the same as what it looked. And that right there, the way that the world shows up to you, the way that you see it, that's the source of this type of transformation. This is not sales training. This is Jedi, this is the stuff that makes the sales training work. And it's a level deeper than that. A level deeper than what you're doing and what you know. It is who you're being. I know that might sound a little bit unclear, but let me tell you, here's what happened to me. I was just going along, I was doing door-to-door sales, I'd been going along about normal production, I was in the top 20% in my company for like 5 years straight. And I was always obsessed with learning more information, listening to podcasts, watching YouTube videos, going to seminars, getting all hyped up and feeling that high, and it felt so great. But then I'd come down off the high and it was like, okay, now I need another shot of that, whatever that was. I would take the energy drinks every day. I would take Adderall sometimes to try to make me sell more. I didn't really tell people about that because it's a little bit embarrassing, whatever, who knows. But basically what I would do is I would try every single thing I could to get myself to sell more. And you might be like me. I'm a very deep thinker, and that's a two-edged sword. It's beneficial, and sometimes it could hinder me. And what I would do is I would notice sometimes I'd be overcomplicating the sale, and I'd be overthinking it, and I'd be getting up into my head. And what I would do then is I'd be a step behind. I'd be a little bit too slow. My timing would be off, and I would just kind of suck. You know, I would just kind of go along with these normal, regular, results that weren't that great. And then I would get this little glimpse of time where I'd have this heightened level of awareness, like this heightened level of consciousness where my timing was just right on, where I could just, boom, connect with someone really quick. And when I would, my sales would shoot up like for 2 or 3 days, and then they'd come right back down. And because I have you ever had that? If you've had that, tell me about it in the comments or send me a message or something. But because I'd had these little glimpses in the past of times when I was selling these like really, really well, double, triple, quadruple my normal average day, because I'd had that experience, it bothered me really, really bad, because I knew if I could just sell at that level consistently, if that became my new normal, I'd be able to take my wife on the Disney cruise instead of the cheap cruise. I'd be able to get her a really nice house instead of a decent house that we had. I'd be able to conquer myself, conquer that game, and I would shoot up to the next level in my sales, in leadership, in I'd be able to go and maybe even graduate the door-to-door sales world. Like, I didn't want to do it forever, and I'd be able to go become an entrepreneur and do my own business and have that life of freedom that so many people are after, right? And it would frustrate me because after year after year after year, 4 years, 5 years, it was like I was in this rut. I had been approaching the sales the same way for so long. Those grooves in my mind and my brain had been driven the same way for so long that I had this habitual way, this habit, this way of seeing the world. It was like these yellow lensed glasses that I just couldn't get off. I couldn't get them off and switch them for new ones. It was like I've thought about this the same way and approached it the same way, and I've identified myself as this person for so long that changing that was almost impossible. And no matter how much more information I took on, it didn't really help. It didn't help much. There'd be a little incremental sales improvement. It was like, but really, it was so frustrating because it was like this year looked like last year with lipstick on it. This conversation that I'm introducing you to is something different. It's something that I stumbled on almost by accident. Within about a few day period, I had a transformation happen where I saw, literally, what I saw shifted, and it wasn't the same after that. And that, the way that I saw it, the way that the situation showed up to me, allowed me that new perspective. It allowed me to almost triple my sales. It was just shy of triple my sales, and I had this few days where I was like, boom, I got it. And I thought, is that gonna last? I hope it's gonna last. And this time it did last. And I said, well, I wanna go a whole month and see if it can last for that whole month. It lasted the whole month. I ended up going a whole year, and it lasted a whole year. I went from 103 accounts one year, that was my 5th year, to 285 funded accounts the next year. And I felt like I was on top of the world. I finally conquered that game. And ever since then, that was back in 2012, ever since then, my sole focus has been just really being obsessed with that transformation, just crossing over that little bridge. And people use me to just cross over this little bridge and get to this new identity, this new version of themselves where they're being who they need to be in order to actually successfully implement all the training that they've been packing into their brain for so many years. And when they actually get that piece shifted and they're being who they need to be and they see it differently, it changes their life because it transforms their sales results. And there's a possibility that we could do that for you. I'm not talking to those of you who are like, you know, yeah, I know it all, or yeah, who are you? What have you done in the industry? Yeah, what, like, how good are you? Like, prove to me how good you are. No, it's not about me, and I don't have anything to teach you. And I believe and I know that you already have what you need inside of you to do double or even triple. I'm talking to those of you who are sincere, who are willing to come into a conversation where we hold nothing back. Totally confidential. For me, this is very sacred because it'll change your life. And what we're going to do inside that conversation is I'm going to get into your world. I'm going to ask you specific questions that'll allow me to get your view of the world and see how you're seeing it. And when I can see how you're seeing it, very often something will show up that you're not even aware of, like a blind spot. If you've got some blind spot that allows you, you're not seeing something, then no matter how much cool stuff you learn, things aren't really going to change. No matter how many books you read, things aren't going to change. But when you can see what you weren't seeing before, it'll have an almost immediate shift of your performance. And even though we don't teach you more stuff, you have access to all that great stuff that you already know, because as you probably know, knowing what to do and doing what you know are two entirely different things. When someone already has adequate training and already has adequate information, and they're not doing the required actions that would allow them to produce at a way higher level, There's a reason for that. There is a source to that, but the person typically can't see it. But someone who's sincere, someone who's serious about having a killer year in their income, in their sales, they'll make sure to have someone else, another perspective, looking at them and pointing things out to them that they didn't notice. And that is a relationship where trust is absolutely required. Total authenticity, total integrity in that relationship so that they can lean on it and get a breakthrough, get a jolt in performance. And if you're a leader, you've got a few guys under you, at least 3, all the way up to 30 if you got, actually 50. If you got between 3 guys and 50 guys under you that rely on you for leadership, and you want to be at your very best, and you know that more information isn't what's missing, and you want some really precise shifts to happen inside of you, and you're willing to come to a conversation and be open and be vulnerable and allow yourself to see something that you're not seeing, then that's what we're going to do. What I want you to do is just send me a message here on Facebook, and I'll ask you a few questions, and we'll put it in the calendar, and we'll have a conversation that will change your life. I mean it. And the reason why I'm doing this is because if we create a massive change for you, and you go out and live that in the world, see what happens is I listen, you speak, and we have a very rare conversation, one that you won't have with anyone else. And what happens inside of that conversation is something new gets created. And then you go and live that in the world. And as you go and live that in the world, people will see that. And they'll come back to me and they'll say, hey, I want to do that. And then that helps me and my business grows as well. So it's a win-win. Now, all I want you to do, send me a private message. I'll ask you a few questions, make sure that I really can deliver on that promise to you that we're going to change your life. Make sure that you're a good fit for that, and then we'll do it. That'll be complimentary. Sam's a friend of mine. This will be complimentary if you're here watching this here on Facebook inside of this group, and I look forward to talking to you. All right, bye.